Let's freaking go, man. Let's freaking go. Y'all, I am pumped up. Like, let's go. 2019, we saw the best season that ever was for LSU football. 2020 was a setback. We can talk about coaching. We can talk about players. We can talk about COVID. We can talk about all of it. But now LSU has a staff. LSU has players that are coming back for the 2021 season. Let's freaking go. Y'all, I'm pumped up. I'm sorry. If you don't like my energy, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. Because I'm pumped up and we're ready to go. Everyone joining the show, I'm usually not this fired up to start the show. If it's your first time, my name is Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We greatly appreciate our partners over at Believe Podcast and everything that they do for us. We thank all the fans. LSU has hired a linebackers coach and a defensive line coach, Blake Baker and Andre Carter. We will talk about both of those. We will talk about the stories. Everyone do us a favor by hitting the like and share on Facebook, hitting that retweet on Twitter and Periscope. We would greatly appreciate that. And you only got 2 more days, y'all. 2 more days to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the $100 gift card giveaway. It's looking like that we're going to be doing it to either Academy or Walk-Ons, depending on whoever wins. I'll let them choose where they want the gift card to. So go and subscribe. $100. That's all you got to do, and hit the notification bell. We got a lot to get into. Mr. Zach Pearson, former LSU pitcher, Mr. Zach Pearson, is going to be joining the show at about 7:20. So looking forward to having Zach on the show on his Thursday slot. Perry Mason, the Gator fan, says, "Hold that tiger." Yes, sir. What's good, everybody? Brandy Blake says, "What's good?" Nick Guidry says, "I'm killing the stock market today." Well, not if you have Robinhood, you're not. I trust my good advisor, Mr. Michael Bazile, to handle all my stuff. Mr. Michael Bazile, little flex right there. A little flex. I had to hit him with it. Let's get to a couple of these comments, and then we'll take off during the show. Tell him Black. Well, tell him Blake, you mean? I appreciate that, though. I appreciate that. Bayou Bengals on YouTube says, "Go Tigers. Hold that tiger." Man, this is going to be a pumped-up show, man. This is going to be a pumped-up show. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Hit that like and hit the share. But before we get to everything, we got to talk about our good sponsors over at GM Varnado & Sons. GM Varnado & Sons has faithfully been serving your Denham Springs and Baton Rouge area for over 62 years. With their highly trained technicians, there's absolutely nothing that they can't do. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire repair, tire rotation, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. And for the number one real estate firm in all the North Shore, go to team.kw.com. That's team.kw.com. And I know that they will take care of you today. If you're looking for your dream home, I promise you that they will find one to put you in today. That's 985-467-7355. 985-467-7355. Tell them Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. You didn't hear that cough, did you? I put you on mute. Richie Roche at Roche's Lawn and Landscape, who's going to be a sponsor starting in February, says, "I'm starting to really like the potential of this staff. Tons of youth at coaching and experienced players." Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay. I wish, and some of you I sent the text to, but we were told early this morning, this is no BS. I was told at 9:30 this morning that Randall Joyner, the SMU defensive line coach, was going to be accepting the job as the defensive line coach for LSU. We didn't run it because all the bad leaks and all the stuff that was going on at LSU during this offseason, I was like, let's get this one confirmed. Like, let's get somebody else to come out to me and tell me that Randall Joyner is going to be taking the LSU coaching job for the defensive line before we run it. With that being said, we waited. It was like the Marcus Freeman thing, right? We waited. Nothing happened. But then Andre Carter is announced by Bruce Feldman that he was going to be accepting the job and that Randall Joyner is going to be going to Ole Miss. So let's start with let's start with Andre Carter, the former first-round pick. Guys, I'm not about to brag on the Jets, the New York Jets, but you do realize that their defensive line was extremely stout last season. Not only was he a first-round pick, but he coached one of the better defensive line units in the NFL under probably the most coked-out head coach in NFL history in Adam Gase. 3 yards per carry in the NFL is exceptional. Exceptional. Yes, I am still fighting the coughing from the sinus infection. Perry, all right, you know what, Perry? Perry says, OJ, brother, home market premium, the orange juice. Perry, you're about to be a sponsor of AYS. You don't have a choice anymore, brother. You don't have a choice. I like the hire. Look, Michael Bazile says, we want $100. Yeah. Hey, he's our advisor. Listen to him. He's our advisor. Listen to him. But I just want to make this very clear. This is not a splash hire. These are not splash hires for LSU. They're not like, LSU just got so-and-so as their defensive coordinator. You better watch out. LSU just got so-and-so as their linebackers coach. You better watch out. LSU just got their defensive line coach along with Ed Orgeron. It's not going to move the needle for some of you. But for me, it's as a collective staff, it's moving the needle. And here's why. Because you have a defensive line coach who had the best defensive line statistically against the run in Andre Carter. I've had Miami fans on my Twitter all day long saying, oh my God, Blake Baker sucks. Kind of like The Rock, right? Like, he absolutely sucks. Huh. So when he was a defensive coordinator at Miami, he had a 23rd ranked defense along with a 51st ranked defense. So you mean to tell me with the personnel that LSU has coming back and the personnel that he had in Miami, and he was able to put that on the field and do what he did on the field, and now he's your linebackers coach, that's not a good addition? Hell yeah, it's a good addition. And I would expect, let me make this very clear for all of you that are watching and will watch later on. I would not be surprised if Blake Baker is like a run game coordinator, because he won't be a passing game coordinator because you have Corey Raymond and Durante Jones, who are both DBs coaches, but a running game coordinator, so to speak, for LSU. Now that you add Andre Carter, Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, who we all know who Corey Raymond is, one of the best, if not the best DBs coach in the country, and Durante Jones, okay. Perry Mason says, you're the man, get her done. Yes, sir. Aaron Adams says, ask Blake, no questions from me tonight. Just super excited about the staff and players that want to be here. Exactly, Aaron. Exactly. This is a sneaky good staff. And there's something to be said. Let me make this very clear. There is something to be said when you don't know how to prepare for LSU now. You don't know what defense they're going to run. You have absolutely no idea what they're going to do offensively. And you have no idea who they're going to start at quarterback. The last time this really happened, now you knew kind of what they were going to do defensively, but didn't know how they would mix it up personnel-wise. The last time this happened, when you had a lot of offensive linemen coming back, when you had a lot of defensive linemen coming back, we had on Brandon Fehoko, was it Monday night? You have Braden Fehoko, Rashard Lawrence, Glenn Logan, Tyler Shelvin. On the offensive line, you had Damian Lewis, Lloyd Cushenberry, Ed Ingram, Adrian McGee. The last time this started kind of coming about, you won a national championship. Now, let me make this very clear. Very, very clear. I am not coming out tonight saying that I think that LSU is going to win a national championship. I'm not saying that. But you better be careful when you start going on Twitter and poo-pooing LSU. The gap is not as far as everybody seems to let it believe. Durante Jones, let's go now. Now it's about what's going to happen during spring, what's going to happen during the install, what's going to happen in the fall. You're going to know a lot during the UCLA game. Jamie Hodges says, ask Blake, I heard Mike Detillier mention that if Jones does well, he might be on the move in a couple of years, and Baker could move into a DC slot. Who knows? Yeah, absolutely. Look, if Durante Jones does well, he's not going to be here. And for everybody, taking a sip of my orange juice, Perry Mason. For everybody who wants Durante Jones to have success at LSU and not move on, it's not going to happen. One or two things are going to happen. Either Durante Jones is going to have a ton of success and he's going to get a head coaching job. Or number two, he's not going to have success and a lot of people are going to start getting fired. That's exactly what's going to happen here. God, I hate when people start sending me messages during the middle of the show. Stop. It's the same dude every single week. Perry Mason says Gator baseball is number one. Yeah, they might be number one on paper, but no team that started number one has finished number one, baby. You better watch out for the Tigers. Charlie Viator says, ask Blake, love the new hires. Let's go Tigers. I like as a collective unit, I think it's a sneaky good staff. Actually, I think it's a really solid staff. I don't need the big name. I need guys who are good fits. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter. Played in college and I played in high school. If you can communicate and you can teach and you can love, you will be a great coach. You are a great coach. Period. Hold that tiger. Matt Gidry says, ask Blake, do you think by the time football season comes around, we will be able to have a full stadium? Man, I have no idea. I don't make enough money to make decisions like that. Tyler Mann says, ask Blake, how do you think the DC hire, linebacking coach hire will affect the recruitment of Rayshawn Davis from Cali? Tyler, I think that recruitment's over, brother. I think that recruitment's completely over because Ed Orgeron on Tuesday came out with T-Bob Hebert and said what you needed to know about Rayshawn Davis. He said, I've contacted 3 linebackers in the transfer portal. If Rayshawn Davis was expected to come to LSU, he would have never done. He, number one, would have never done that. And number two, he would never even have said that. Why would he have said it? And look, Rayshawn Davis doesn't want to be here. So what? Ryan Thibodeau says, cough, Jets, Rudy Poo, cough. The Jets were bad this year. They were very bad. But you know what the best thing about the Jets was this season? Their defensive line. So you mean to tell me that the best thing about an NFL team, the worst, literally the second worst team in the NFL, the best thing about them was their run defense, and you're getting their defensive line coach? The NFL seems to be a little bit more talented than college football. Okay. Derek Sonny Gordon on Facebook says, I'm hearing good stuff about this coach from Miami. This is a major upgrade for us. Yes, I think it's here's what Blake Baker. So let's talk about Blake Baker. You have a guy that's coached defense. You have a guy that was at Louisiana Tech. Remember a couple seasons ago when you played Louisiana Tech and it was a really close game with Ed Orgeron and you could not move the football in Louisiana Tech? Do you want to know who the defensive coordinator was? Blake Baker. Guy that's played at Tulane, guy from Houston, so he has Houston connections. The outside of Baton Rouge, the biggest population of LSU fans is in the city of Houston, second or third. So a guy from Houston who could recruit Houston, a guy that played in New Orleans at Tulane, and a guy that's coached at Louisiana Tech. From a recruiting standpoint, from a linebackers coach, a young guy that's been in the three major areas that you recruit: New Orleans, North Louisiana, and Houston. And by the way, Blake Baker was the main recruiter for a 5-star defensive lineman that committed to the University of Miami. I don't want to go too far in this. Again, I don't want to go too far into say that this team is going to win a national championship. I will go as far as saying you better watch out. Hey, Mike Bazile, this is what Scooter said. Listen. If y'all want to make money right now, you got to go to my man. I can't keep flexing on my man like that. But my man's making people money. Adam Keene says, ask Blake, do you think if we don't win at least 9 or 10 games next year, Coach O's on the hot seat? It kind of feels like Coach O's on the hot seat right now. You know, like if Coach O wins 7 or 8 games, is he not on? His heat is scorching. I'm going to say this. I do not think that Ed Orgeron's Gene Chizik. I don't think he's a one-hit wonder coach. I don't think that he has recruited better than Gene Chizik. And look, there's a lot of talent at LSU. You have 4 competent quarterbacks at LSU right now. Competent. More than competent. Auburn never had that. Adam Keene says he got demoted from D.C. Yeah, he did. I get the pushback from Miami fans. I get the pushback from some LSU fans in reference to Blake Baker. But it's like the whole Pete Golding thing from Alabama. Oh, my God. Alabama's defense absolutely sucks. Fire Pete Golding. But yet, when they shut out a team in Mississippi State, everyone's like, oh, my God, Nick Saban's an absolute genius. It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work like that with Blake Baker and Manny Diaz either. You mean to tell me that when North Carolina almost scored 70 on Miami, that Blake Baker was the sole reason? So Blake Baker was out there missing tackles. Blake Baker was the one out there calling all the plays, and Manny Diaz had absolutely nothing to do with it. That's like saying Sean Payton has nothing to do with the offensive play calls in New Orleans. Mike Bazile said, disclosure, that was not financial advice. Can't sue me. Yeah, you was on the hot seat, wasn't you? Y'all better call that dude, man. I ain't playing with you. Y'all couldn't hear me, could you? Y'all couldn't hear me. Okay. Y'all couldn't hear me at all. Damn, hopefully, you know what? Zach, they couldn't hear me. I don't know what happened. Now they can hear me. Now they can hear me. So it's all good. Okay, there we go.
And it wasn't for long. It was just for like the very end of your sentence.
Okay. Well, that's my fault. At the end of the day, call John Patton from Area Home Lending. That's all you need to know. I hit the cough button. You know, like I've been going through this sinus infection thing, not COVID. I hit the cough button. You know, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Zach, what's going on, man? What's happening?
Oh, not much, man. How are you?
We're doing good, other than this little cough that I have. Look, I don't know if you've been able to keep up with it, but some big news from LSU. They hired their defensive line coach. They hired their linebackers coach. Let me ask you this: as a former player, does that bring a lot of energy to you when you have a new coach that comes in? Last week you talked about Andy Cannizzaro and the energy that he brought when he comes in. Does that give you just so much energy? Like, hey, man, we got to go. Or do you kind of like feel the guy out first?
Well, I do think it probably has a lot to do with how he comes in. If he's an energy guy, then you're going to feed off of that. But yeah, I would bet that as a player, you probably do have a little bit of a sky's the limit kind of thing of like, especially for those positions, right, where we have a lot of snaps returning. We have a lot of experience coming back. So we have guys who know how to play. Now we have this new coach in here who can theoretically push us to the moon. So then, yeah, let's knock it out. Let's blow and go. Let's be the best in the nation.
Zach, I agree with you. And I think it's interesting because, look, Ed Orgeron has to get these hires right. Okay. And let's call a spade here. When you're kind of on the hot seat and people are questioning what it is that you're going to do, you got to get these rights and he vetted a lot of people. And I guess the biggest question is, how long does it take a player to trust a coach? Right. I'm a very trusting human being. So, you know, I can meet a person and trust them with my life, but that's my own fault. How do you think realistically how long that takes and how quickly these guys can trust these new coaches and Andre Carter and Blake Baker?
Well, that's a weird thing because it's going to operate different for each coach. There are two main things that I would say go into it is how much does that coach work to build the trust? Because I do think that speeds it up by a lot. And then secondly is what's that coach's resume, right? Has that coach already earned our trust? Some guys you get these huge name hires where when they come in, the whole team's like, okay, we're bought in already. And then some guys you have like, all right, well, let's see what this guy has to offer. So I think I think a lot of it is going to hinge on whether or not these coaches come in with the ability to connect with the players and then use that in practice. It could only take a couple days. If you're operating the right way, you're teaching them things that they understand and make sense. And then you're kind of showing that you're on their team whenever they're making mistakes in training camp and this and that. You're like, hey, man, it's all about how you go about it. Where if you say something like, hey, that's wrong, well, then obviously you're going to build trust slower than a guy who's like, hey, here's how we want to operate. Here's how we want to do these things and this and that. So I really think a lot of it falls on the coach in that situation. And I'm really anxious to see how these players adopt these new faces.
All right. I just noticed this during when you were talking and I was listening to you, but the flex that you got rolling right now in the frame, the gray 49 Pierce behind you. Okay, so you got to tell me about that. What is that about? Why the gray? Tell me, why is that framed?
So I'm afraid I may upset you with my answer. I don't think it's going to be as good as you're hoping. But no, so I'm at my dad's house right now. And so we got our like 6 jerseys or whatever whenever we graduated. And so I gave one to my mom, one to him, and one to my brother. And so he's got the gray one hanging up right here. It's in like one of the little rooms in the house.
Hey, all right, Zach, I got to be honest. I have my old Franklinton football jersey, okay, in the attic. and me and my wife were cleaning stuff out. I put that pupper on, got in the 3 points, was ready to go. I live in the old, and she's she's yelling out there, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm just moving stuff. No real big deal." But anyway.
One time I found my dad's high school wrestling outfit. I think it was something like that. And he can't fit in it now. He wrestled at a much lower weight class. But one day I'll see if I can try to squeeze him into it. We'll see what happens.
Very quickly, I know I didn't text this to you today, but very quickly, talking about wrestling made me think of this. Were you as shocked at me that Dustin Poirier knocked out McGregor?
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. It was so awesome. I was very surprised by it, of course, but man, just such a cool story. I was unaware of this, but he was the first person to ever knock out McGregor. I guess McGregor's been submitted, but never knocked out, and that. Yeah.
The only other time he got knocked out, I guess you would say, was against Floyd Mayweather, but that was just a stoppage. They didn't,
right.
So, but yeah, I was shocked. I was completely shocked. Zach, Paul Mainieri had some, and we talked about this last week, and we're probably going to continue to talk about it as the baseball season goes on. Paul Mainieri is going out there saying that this is the most talented team that he's ever had. And not so many words, but let's read between the lines of what he's saying. Look, there's a lot of fans that are going to put Paul on the pedestal here. And I'm not going to ask you, if he's on the hot seat. But when you make statements like that, this team's got to live up to that now, right? They can't just go out there and start losing midweek games. And I know people have the perception of midweek games, but when you make that, Paul better than anybody on this show right now. If he makes a statement like that, what do you think he's seeing?
I think he's seeing a team that is really just day in and day out getting after it. I think he's seeing less flat days on random practice days. And I think he's seeing things like that. I also think he's seeing a locker room that probably holds itself accountable. Every year is going to be different. LSU baseball does a pretty good job of recruiting personality types. But still, there's always going to be some wiggle room there. And I feel like he's probably seeing a team that that probably takes it seriously, but probably maintains their discipline, whether they're asked to or not. At that point, you have veterans coming back that maybe they're showing some leadership. Maybe the practices are intense and they're getting after it. And honestly, I haven't been able to watch them practice yet, but I can't wait. I hope I'm buying into what he's saying, and maybe he's tricking me, but I'm buying into it, and I want to see. I think this team can go really far and hopefully finish one out. It's been a while since LSU brought a trophy home.
I had somebody text me today that said if they don't go far, that they're going to Conor McGregor him or Dustin Poirier. It was a joke. We have a question right here from.
But
Travis.
I don't know. Go ahead. Coach O said that we were going to have the best defense we've ever had this year. So let the coach talk. It is what it is.
You know what it tells me, Zach? Seriously, just knowing Paul Mainieri and listening to him for this long, he's a very calculated individual. Okay,
absolutely.
And so, him being that calculated as an individual, he saw something somewhere, somehow, some way that's like, hey, man, okay, he might have parts of me thinks too that he's got a young team, so he's got to motivate him a little bit. But there's also parts of me he's like, hey, man, I'm just going to tell you how the cow eats cabbage. And from what I'm seeing, they're just going to be a really good team. We do have a question for you, Zach, from Travis. He says, ask Zach, do you feel this will be the best pitching rotation LSU will roll out this year that you've ever seen?
I think they have a chance. I think they have a lot of obviously we know the starters, we know the names, we've been hearing them the whole time. And I think the sky's the limit for those guys. What I'm really looking at, and where I think a lot of your real pitching value comes from, maybe I'm biased because I was a reliever, but I'm looking at the fact that we have some pretty solid relief roles coming back. Devin's coming back. I can't wait to see how that guy finishes out. The name's blanking me. Who's the really tall guy with the blonde hair?
Matthew Batt.
Beck. I'm anxious to see what Beck does this year, right? I mean, that guy's got tons of innings under his belt. Maybe he's being one of the leaders in practice that can be like like a Parker Bug type whenever I was there. That guy was lights out, ate up innings in every possible role. I feel like this bullpen has an opportunity. If you can roll it over from the great starters that we have to the great closer that we'll probably finish with, if that bullpen can eat up those valuable innings there, then yeah, I think this pitching staff has a chance to be really one of the best ones we've seen.
Well, and too, Matthew Beck, to your point, got the number 8 jersey. You've got Bregman, you've got
that's big.
That's huge, right?
When's the last time it was on a pitcher? I don't know if I can name one since they started doing it as a tradition.
Zach, I don't think anyone has.
I don't think so.
Listen, I'll go research that, but I don't think anyone has. Let's see, you had Mason Katz, Bregman, Antoine Duplantis, which, by the way, I'm not sure if people have you seen the pictures of Antoine? Like my buddy's getting a little yoked there. It looks like he's putting on some. Look, he's hitting in the cage and he's got like his triceps. He never had like a muscle definition. He's got that tricep rolling. I'm like, okay, Antoine. Okay, I see what I see what that money did for you.
Hey, some guys are ready for it. Like you said, I think the money does a big part of it too. But Stevenson put on some pretty good weight whenever he graduated. Bregman put on a lot of weight whenever he graduated. A lot of those guys, man, like you said, the money may do it, but some guys may just they hit that second puberty and they're ready to roll.
Oh no, I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm not going to bring it there. I'm not going to bring it there. Holden Lee says, ask Zach, which I think this is a good segue. He says, what freshman do you think makes the biggest difference besides Dylan Cruz? Very quickly before we get to that question, did you see the comparison? People are saying Dylan Cruz reminds them of Mike Trout. Now, if you're going to make that statement, my man better hit 20 bombs, brother. Like, I don't mean that in the wrong way, but what freshman do you know or do you think that you've been hearing could make the biggest impact? It probably is going to be Dylan Cruz, right?
I mean, it would be, yeah. But like you said, it's because of how much hype he has around him. I don't know. I'm scrolling through the roster right now. It's interesting because I'm not sure how much room there is, right? With guys like DiGiacomo coming back, Dugas coming back, Bianco. Like you have a lot of staples already kind of in there. There's going to have to be a freshman who shows up and maybe kicks someone out for some playing time.
Well, and so I rudely interrupt you, but Trey Morgan is going to be playing first base. He's been so good with the glove and the bat that they moved Cade Beloso to left field. Okay,
that's awesome.
Beloso, I mean, through half a season, 2 years,
that dude can play.
That dude can play. So that means to tell you that Paul's like, hey man, Cade, you're really good, but he's just 10 times better. Oh, by the way, he's a freshman. And so for me, it might be Trey Morgan.
Yeah, and those things are – I'm going to keep an eye on that too. Those things are hard to predict, whenever I first showed up there, a freshman who made a big difference on the back half was Jake Fraley. But for the first half of the season, wasn't really getting that much playing time. And honestly, in the fall, wasn't doing well. Like just wasn't – he wasn't really what we thought he was going to be. It just kind of was what it was, And then he'll even tell the story, and he'll say, like, going back home for Christmas, letting my battery recharge, just kind of did a lot between the ears for him. And when he came out, he was ready to kick ass. And so, like, you could see that you can grab any freshman out of the hat, and honestly, they could make that exact same jump. It's a really bananas thing to try and predict, but, like, that's kind of what makes it fun, too.
I'm with you. They're just so deep, I think is the biggest thing. And
I think that's why Mainieri has so much confidence in this roster. Top to bottom.
Well, and look, at the end of the day, when you have that much depth, Paul might see it as this is his deepest team, maybe not his most talented, and because when you're that deep, you're like, hey, man, I had to move my All-American first baseman to left field because I have a freshman coming in that's absolutely yoking. Okay, and that's interesting. Yeah. I'm going to transition here because we have some comments. But Brandon Reese says Coach O better win at least 10 games next year with a talent that they have coming back. Let me ask you this, Zach. Did you ever feel the pressure that y'all had to win a lot for Paul because of outside noise and stuff like that? Like, did you ever feel the pressure?
No. And honestly, I don't know if we ever even really saw the noise. And even if we would have, I'm not really sure it would have bothered us much. But because I think that, as a team, especially in our locker room, I think we kind of just and not to sound arrogant, but I think that as a locker room, we're like, well, that's not something we need to worry about because we're going to win a lot. Like, I think that was just kind of how the practice was designed, was for everyone to act and think that way. And I would hope that LSU football's acting and thinking that way right now, because if they're not, then the problem falls, the problem is way worse than the coaching staff.
I agree. Two more questions. We'll get you out of here, Zach. Number one, Deshaun Watson. Okay, it's confirmed today that he wants to trade. I don't know realistically if the Saints have enough capital to get him. But if you're the Saints, don't you make that phone call? Like, at least to say this, like, hey, this is Mickey. What do you want? Like, you make that phone call, correct? Like, he's that kind of player.
Yeah, you absolutely have to. Not only is he that kind of player, but you're not in a position where you feel like you found your long-term quarterback yet. I think they may say that they feel that way, but I think that, if they did actually feel that way, it would have been a lot more apparent, by now. They're going to say that they're going to say we have our quarterback of next year and this and that, but that's because they have that guy on the roster. But if you give them any opportunity at all to get Deshaun Watson, they will ship out every quarterback on roster today for that trade. Gladly.
Zach, just letting you know, I would ship you and that jersey behind you to go get Deshaun Watson. I'm just letting you know, I love you to death, but I would ship everything. And I think you got to make that phone call because he's just that guy, right? Like, he's doing things that not even NFL players can do. You got to make that phone call. Zach, last one that I think is really interesting. I want to get your take, and we might be a little bit here, but I want to get this one in there to you. And it's a tough question to ask because there's so many variables.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about this, about LSU and the persona that LSU gives. When you, and I know I didn't really ask you this, but I've been blistered by Miami Hurricane fans today about Blake Baker, the new linebackers coach. Is there a fan base that you absolutely loathe? Like, you just, and look, it might be Alabama. I don't know who it is, but look, I can tolerate Alabama fans maybe a little bit more now because I've dealt with it. But is there just a fan base that you're just like, hey, if I see one, I'm going to punch him in the face. I'm going to Dustin Poirier hot sauce him in the face.
I don't know if I have that for an entire fan base. I do have it for individual pockets of fan bases. So, like, for example, like, take the Boston Celtics, right? If you get online any given day and you go look at Celtics fans, you're going to find one group of people who's some of the most entertaining people online, and you're going to have another group of people who are just absolutely insufferable, right? So I feel like fan bases are kind of what they are. You're going to have good and bad. I would say that the Miami fan base tends to live a little too much in the past, right? For Miami football, you were really awesome in 2000, and that's cool. Like, that's really cool for you. But most of, like, your children have no idea what you're talking about when you talk about your pride in the U. So I don't know. You got to let it go at some point. Like, I can understand. Like, look, they're a decent team. They're good. They're above average year in and year out, but they're not contending right now. And they're acting like every year they act like the next year is like the second coming of, the fun Miami times. And I don't see it on the horizon.
You would think that Ray Lewis Ed Reed, Ken Dorsey, like all those dudes are on their team right now, and they're not. And this is what I say to every fan about LSU that's not an LSU fan. 3 national titles in the last 20 years, and they've been to a 4th. By the way, that's number 2. So, STP, I'm not going to go, but it's just like, man, I just don't understand sometimes the persona of other fans. When you were playing, last question, we'll get you out of here. When you were playing, was there a fan base that you were like, hey, a freshman coming in, hey, Alex, I know we're going to Mississippi State. Just get ready. Like, was there ever a fan base that you were just like, man, you had to mentally prepare because you hated them so much?
Let's see. Texas A&M, and by far, I cannot stand them. I hate them to death. Their fan base is so corny. Like, their entire school's identity, like their fight song is about sawing off the Longhorns. Like, the entire identity is like they crave to be the little brother. They want to be the annoying, like just ignored kid. I can't stand it. I hated them so much. Ole Miss was awesome. Like, Mississippi State was awesome. Like, all those schools that are like rivals, you go over there and it's the fun rivalry feel. You go to Texas A&M and they're just like cornballs. Like, you just like can't get into you can't like want to play well against them because they're not even worth it. Like, it's like, oh, these people, they're just miserable.
I'm right there with you, especially after, like they're so corny that when they won in overtime, they had a cup and their door code was 7472. Like,
yeah, good for you guys.
Are we that special? Like, are you riding us that much? Anyway, all right. His name is Zach Pearson, and I'm so ready for baseball, Zach. We only got a couple more weeks. We appreciate you joining the show, and we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Hey, sounds good, man. Thank you.
All right. That's Mr. Zach Pearson. Look, he comes every Thursday, does a fantastic job, and we greatly appreciate him joining. Okay, we're going to talk about the LSU coaching hires some more. Everyone do us a favor, hit the like and hit the share and share into some groups. We will continue to talk about it. We will do the hashtag Ask Blake, so if you have a question as we go forward, we're not going to talk about the LSU-Texas Tech game because of the simple fact that we have a lot of news that has transpired today. Literally, as soon as I hit what our topics were about, we got the breaking news. So hashtag Ask Blake, and we will answer all your questions. Just do us a favor by hitting the like and hitting the share. I called them today because you never know what you're going to run into. But our good friends over at the Drake Law Firm, personal injury, criminal defense, real estate, and successions. There's no other law firm that will be better suited to fit all of your needs. Call them today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600. Or go see them over at 154 West Pine Street, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. That's 154 West Pine Street, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. And tell them Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by. Okay, let's get to a couple of the comments. I saw this from Wade earlier. He says, I love this page so much. Hashtag Go Tigers. I appreciate that, man. Q McKee says, thanks for taking Blake Baker. That was when I told you earlier in the show that this is what we were dealing with from Miami fans, the naive Miami fans. Like 2 seasons in 19, you were the 23rd ranked defense in the country, and Blake Baker was your coordinator. And by the way, your offense absolutely sucked. You remember in 2019 when Florida was able to get like 10 sacks against Miami because they had like 3 offensive linemen that were true freshmen, and your defense was still doing what they're doing? Come on, man. Come on. Billy says, ask Blake, did you see the shoes for the girls softball team? Great straight gangsta. I didn't see that, man. I didn't see them. I'll have to go look that up. It's been a busy day for LSU with Blake Baker and Andre Carter. Blake Doucette says, ask Blake on Facebook Live, who do you got in the Super Bowl? Parts of me wants to take Kansas City. Like a lot of me wants to take Kansas City. But I don't know if I want to bet against Tom Brady, you know? As much as it hates me to say that, I don't know if I want to bet against that defense and Tom Brady. Tom Brady with 2 weeks. It would feel like the passing of the guard, though, if Kansas City won, would it not? Like Tom Brady's kind of handing the crown over to Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a fun Super Bowl. I know a lot of people think it's rigged and stuff like that. I certainly don't. TJ says it's go, G-A-U-X, not go, G-O. I agree. Mark says LSU also has better players than Miami. Yeah, they do. And why is this whole thing about Blake Baker? Now, do I think that Blake Baker has a lot to do moving forward? Yes. Does he have a lot of work to do in front of him? Yes, he does. A lot of work. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that this LSU defense is going to be much improved. You can't get any worse than what they were, and that's why I think that this is going to be a sneaky good staff. Outside of Ed Orgeron telling you exactly what this team is going to run, does anybody know what LSU is going to do in 2021 offensively or defensively? Now, defensively, they're going to get tested early against Chip Kelly, and I don't care what anybody says. Chip Kelly can call plays now. David says Miami is straight garbage. Yeah, they have been. This is the first season they said, oh, we're back. We're back. No, you're not. I saw this earlier. Holden Lee says, ask Zach, is Cranford the starting shortstop or is K. Doty? I think Dugas will be at second. They got a lot of good guys up the middle. I think Doty beats out Dugas. I think who's the kid that lost a rib or had to have surgery to get a rib removed? That's what I'd say. I'm sorry about the no sound earlier. Yeah, that's on me. We lost a lot of people because of no sound. That's on me. Ryan Thibodeau says, ask Blake, how much influence does D. Jones have in choosing the defensive position coaches? I think he was in those meetings. He's never hired a staff before. He's never been a part of that process. I think that Ed gave him some suggestions, and he was in those meetings, and they collaborated. They talked about it. Why you saw Randall Joyner possibly not going to Ole Miss instead of LSU and Andre Carter getting the job. So there you go. I mean, look, people don't understand that getting an ex-defensive coordinator to come in and coach your linebackers and possibly going to be a running game coordinator is going to be a big deal. It's going to be a very big deal. Let's see. Jacob Cole says, what's up, Jacob? What's up, brother? He says, ask Blake, who will be back first, Miami or Texas? Considering Manny Diaz, you know what? I would say the odds would tell you Manny Diaz in Miami because of the season they're coming off of last year, him being there for a couple seasons. That might be a good bet, but look, Texas does have some talent, and Steve Sarkisian's there, and he's put together a good staff. But if I had to what's back, Jacob? You know, like what's back? Like winning the conference? Because Miami's not going to beat Clemson in that conference anytime soon. Like anytime soon. So I would probably take Texas. I think Texas could beat an Oklahoma in a conference championship game before Miami could beat a Clemson. Nicholas on YouTube says, ask Blake, in your personal opinion, how do you feel about our athletic director? I want to be very careful here. I think he meddles a little too much. So we'll see. I think he's itching to make a coaching fire and hire. So we'll see. We'll see. Travis says, I know this is mostly LSU show, but line up. Okay. I'm so ready for Southeastern LSU baseball. Travis, you know that my alma mater and where I played at was Southeastern. So we'll always take some Southeastern talking here. Cody on Facebook Live says, ask Blake, is Coach Orgeron going in the transfer portal? Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it, brother. Wade on Facebook Live says, Blake, this has an opportunity to be a badass defense. I agree with you. I agree. They have starters coming back, all the starters coming back on the defensive line. They have 2 of the 3 linebackers that started last season, and Micah Baskerville and Damone Clark. Currently, you have Derek Stingley, you have Elias Ricks, you have Cardell Flott, you have Todd Harris, Sage Ryan, Derek Dillon. So you have a lot of Mo Hampton. You have a lot of guys coming back. So this defense could be it could be really talented. It can't get much worse than what it was, and I think they'll be a lot more improved. Clint J29 on Periscope says, ask Blake, Jones, Baker, and the new D-line coach all coached at Miami together at the Miami Dolphins. Blake Baker didn't coach the Dolphins, did he? No, he coached with the Miami Hurricanes. I think they were all in the city of Miami. Jones and Carter coached at Miami together. So that was a good connection. But Blake Baker has not coached in the NFL. Has not coached in the NFL. So, but they were all in the city of Miami. I get what you're saying. So, I mean, I like it. And I like the fact that D. Jones has a guy that he's comfortable with and coached with before. All right, a couple more and we'll get out of here. Ty O'Daniel on Facebook Live says, are we going to ever get a Texas home game? I hope so. Man, I hope so. Kerry says, I'm hearing about the transfer portal too. Look, man, Ed Orgeron wins 9-10 games next year. Y'all will forgive his ass. Jacob Cole says, winning conference and or playoff berth, in my opinion. I guess back is a relative term. Yeah, and I feel as if that Texas could do that before Miami because Clemson's not slowing down. I don't see Miami ever getting to that point. Let's see. Ryan Thibodeau says, put the right players in right positions equals win. I agree with that. Brandon says the fact that Kane fans are critical of him probably says more about the talent that they have. Probably so. I agree with that. All right, guys, this is the last show of the week. We might do a post-game show after the Texas Tech game if we might do it. You know what? Let's do it. We might do it. But until then, guys, we will see you next week and or Saturday. But until then, hope you have a good weekend and stay safe. We will talk to you soon. See you later.